Hello everyone, Dao here. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to continue our video series, Intro to Elemental Reactions. This is going to be the second chapter and we'll mainly focus on everything about amplifying reactions. First, I will give some heads up for today's video. This video will involve some very basic arithmetic math, so if you didn't get your elementary school diploma, or you can't answer the following question within 3 seconds, please proceed with caution or with proper parental guidance. Also, if you haven't watched the first chapter about Genshin elements and elemental application, I highly recommend you watch that video first, just in case you miss any critical context and information for today's content. Now let's get started. Before we start talking about certain reactions, let's first clarify a few concepts for elemental reactions. First of all, what is elemental reaction? Elemental reactions are phenomena that are triggered when certain combinations of elements are applied to a target. Here, please note that elemental reactions require elemental application. If you are still not familiar with elemental application, please make sure to check out the first video of this series. The target can be an enemy, the player ourselves, or an object. The first two cases are fairly straightforward. You can see Kaya's E can freeze the hydro slime, and Zhongli gets frozen by the water and mist flower corolla. For the third case, you can see Sucru's auto attack triggers Swirl on the Hilichurl's weapon, and the Hilichurl takes both Anemo and Pyro damage and gets applied with Pyro, which proves that Swirl can happen on a weapon. Overall, elemental reactions in Genshin are usually imitations of the physical phenomena in real life, which makes TVAT a more realistic world to us. By Genshin patch 2.8, there are 10 types of elemental reactions which are divided into 3 major categories: amplifying reactions, transformative reactions, and other reactions. Upon patch 3.0 Sumeru release, 2 more Dendro reactions, Bloom and Catalyze, will be added into the game. So this video series will not involve any Dendro reactions, and we will discuss them separately in another video after Sumeru's release. So feel free to subscribe to my channels to get the latest updates. Now, let's dive into the details of amplifying reactions. Amplifying reactions include Vaporize and Melt. They do not deal any damage by themselves, but amplify the damage of the attack that triggers them with certain rates. The damage from those reactions can crit, and also scales with the elemental mastery of the character who triggers the reaction. Vaporize. Vaporize is triggered when Hydro element is applied to a target that's already applied with Pyro, and vice versa. In this case, we usually call it Reverse Vaporize. The damage amplification depends on which element triggers the reaction. When Hydro triggers the reaction, the damage is multiplied by 2x. When Pyro triggers the reaction, the damage multiplier is 1.5x. Next, I will use an in-game example with Barbara and Yanfei to fully verify this step by step. Now clear your mind and we are going to do some math. At the very beginning, let's go through my Barbara's and Yanfei's builds. For simplicity, I removed all their artifacts so that they both have 0 EM. In this way, we remove the additional factor EM in the damage computation. Then, we will just use Barbara's and Yanfei's first normal attacks to complete this experiment. First, let's test out the normal Vaporize, where Hydro triggers the reaction. We start with Yanfei's normal attack. We can see that Yanfei deals 31 Pyro damage to the Ruin Guard. Then, we switch to Barbara. Her first normal attack successfully triggers Vaporize and deals 115 Hydro damage. So we can put these two numbers in the data table accordingly. Without Vape, Yanfei's normal attack deals 31 damage, while Barbara deals 115 damage with Vape. Next, let's swap the order of the 2 young ladies to test Reverse Vaporize. Barbara takes the initiative and deals 57 hydro damage to the Rune Guard. Then, Yanfei is swapped onto the field. This time, her first normal attack triggers Reverse Vaporize and hits with 47 pyro damage. Let's put the new numbers in the data table. Now, we have all the data that we need, so it's time for your big brains to shine and make your elementary school math teacher proud. Now, spend 20 seconds computing the amplification rate for each character here between the damages with and without Vaporize triggered. I believe all of you have already got the results. You can see the amplification rate for Yanfei is exact 1.5x for Reverse Vaporize, and 2x for Barbara's normal Vaporize. I do hope you enjoyed this step-by-step walkthrough because we're not done yet. Next, I'm going to show you how Elemental Mastery buffs this reaction damage. First, I'm going to equip an artifact with EM as the only combat effective stat on Yanfei. We can see that on this flower, EM is the only factor that can affect damage dealing, and there is no other such stats like attack or attack percentage, so EM is the only variance here. Then, from the character panel, we can see that Yanfei now has 68 EM, and this will increase her Vaporize damage by 12.8%. Still remember how much damage Yanfei did previously with Vape? It was 47. So now, we should be expecting her to deal 47 times 1.128, which is equal to 53 damage. Let's go back to our Rune Guard. It is already applied with Hydro. Now, when Yanfei throws out her first normal attack, we can see exact 53 pyro damage is dealt through this Vaporize reaction. I hope you enjoyed this in-game example. We'll have many more like this in the future videos. Now, let's move forward to Melt reaction. Melt. Melt, similar to Vaporize, is triggered when pyro element is applied to a target which is already affected with cryo, and vice versa. We also usually call it Reverse Melt. The damage increase depends on which element triggers the reaction as well. When pyro triggers the reaction, the damage is multiplied by 2x. When cryo triggers the reaction, the damage multiplier is 1.5x. Since Melt is very similar to Vaporize, I won't go through another example here. But feel free to give it a try to verify the theory in your own game if you are interested. But at this point, you may have a question. Why are there two different rates, 1.5x and 2x for the damage amplification? We will fully answer this question in another series about Genshin elemental gauge theory. But here, we can briefly talk about it. The reason why the damage multipliers differ is because of the elemental strengths and weaknesses in Genshin. It is similar to what we have in Pokemon. In the current elemental system, Hydro counters Pyro, and Pyro counters Cryo. Reversely, we can say, Cryo is weak to Pyro, and Pyro is weak to Hydro. This is also an imitation of our real-life phenomena. In our world, water puts up fire, and fire melts ice, don't they? So basically in amplifying reactions, whenever the stronger elements trigger the reaction, the damage buff is always greater. Otherwise, it will be the lower one. I hope this helps and we will extend this part more thoroughly in Genshin elemental gauge theory. At last, here's a summary of the important properties of amplifying reactions. I want to especially address the third one, that the reaction damage is only related to the stats on the character who triggers the reaction. And this applies to every existing reaction in the game, not just limited to amplifying reactions. I do hope you enjoyed this video about amplifying reactions in Genshin and learned something new. In the next video, we'll talk about all the transformative reactions in the game, which include a lot more variations. There will be more fun footage and detailed analysis upcoming. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe to my channels for the latest updates. See you in the next video. Bye!